Shalom and greetings from Jerusalem, Jane. Joe Biden has now officially touched down in Israel. He is in a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister at a hotel in Tel Aviv. I'm going to get back to that later. After Hamas has shown to the whole world what's a Nazi terror regime they are, murdering, raping, beheading, shooting, mutilating, decapitating, burning people alive, organization to the whole world. Something happened last night I want to share. But first I want to show you this. This is one of the Jewish families, the entire family murdered. This grandmother, she was in her home when Hamas terrorists breached into her house. They pulled her down on the floor and they executed her with blood all over the floor. Then they took her phone and they put it on her own Facebook page, and her family had to see that she was murdered, filmed on her own Facebook page. Hamas was burning young people alive. Young people who was at a music festival down in the south who tried to escape, they were burned alive. Another Jewish family completely wiped out. They burned babies. Hamas burned babies. Hamas has shown their evil face the last 10 days. Mainstream media flew into Israel and they have been reporting about these atrocities where Hamas showed their true face. A face that we knew here in Israel because we have been living under the rocket attacks that came from them since they took over the Gaza Strip in 2007. You would think that mainstream media now would know who they were dealing with. When death tolls are coming out from the Gaza Strip being released, it comes from Hamas. When they're talking about many innocent civilians being killed, many of those casualties are terrorists. So you would think that the mainstream media would take with a grain of salt what came out from the Gaza Strip. But they didn't. Last night they fell into the trap of Hamas, and literally mainstream media around the world shared the atrocity of a lie that Israel had attacked a hospital in Gaza. Israel never attacks deliberately civilian casualties or civilian targets in the Gaza Strip, not at least a hospital. Of course, mainstream media grabbed that immediately in their hunger to share news, and it went out that there has been an airstrike on a hospital and 500 people were dead. Nobody took just a second to think and say, how come they know that already? How come it just happened and now they're releasing this information? The people who was burning children alive, maybe we shouldn't trust them so quickly, but it was shared out to the whole world for people to turn against Israel and say these atrocities committed by the Israeli army. And you saw people in many countries were out in the street, outraged, attacking American embassies, Israeli embassies around the world. What is the truth? The truth is that during this time of war, these are the numbers of failed rockets from inside the Gaza Strip. We are talking about rockets from Islamic Jihad. We're talking about rockets from Hamas. All the years where I have been here in Israel, when we have had rocket alerts and rockets are flying in, there are always rockets who fell short and they injure and sometimes kill people in the Gaza Strip. Look at the amount. These are the rockets that fell since October 7, and that is exactly what happened last night. First, Hamas fired a barrage of rockets, then Islamic Jihad fired a barrage of rockets. This was filmed on live stream TV by Al Jazeera, and all of a sudden you see one of these rockets is falling short and there is a fire. This was a rocket fired from Islamic Jihad, committing war crimes, firing from inside populated area, actually at a cemetery among civilians, firing into Israel to try and murder as many innocent civilians. But one of their rockets fell short and it hit in a parking lot, in a parking garage next to a hospital, and it killed a lot of people. The Israeli army today went out in a live press conference. Actually, as a matter of fact, already last night, they were out saying, according to initial report that we have done, this was not done by the Israeli army. It looks like it came from Islamic Jihad, and Israel showed a lot of proof today, videos of the rockets falling in that area, what that area looks like before and after. And they even taped a phone conversation between two Hamas terrorists where one is saying what happened and the other one was saying this was a rocket by Islamic Jihad. And you can hear the terrorists saying, what? We did this? And they was like, yes. And what do when they kill their own people? We spin it as a lie. We say Israel committed this crime. They have done that before when rockets have fell short in the Gaza Strip. So the Israeli army went out today and say, here's the proof. And they presented a whole range of proof saying this was done by Islamic Jihad. How about mainstream media had just taken the time to breathe yesterday and say, wow, how come Hamas can give that information already? And should we trust them after the atrocities that they have committed? So now we expect all the mainstream media who was so quickly to jump to conclusion and say the mighty Israeli army, believing Hamas's lie that the mighty Israeli army has bombed a hospital in Gaza. Israel will never ever do something like that. That it was Hamas is doing, that is what Islamic Jihad are doing. They don't care about their own people in the Gaza Strip. They fire from within civilian populations in order to kill as many civilians in Israel. On top of that, Hamas is preventing people from the northern part of the Gaza Strip to move down to the south. Israel is giving time and time and time and time for them to say, evacuate, evacuate. We are not going after the civilian population. We are going after Hamas, who has an infrastructure, an underground infrastructure. It's like a whole city under the northern part of Gaza Strip with tunnels. And that's where they have their weapons, manufacturing sites. Most likely that's also where they are holding 199 people hostage. So I just wanted to make this video to make it very, very clear. Mainstream media fell yesterday from the lies, from the propaganda, from Hamas, who had already shown who they were, and sent out saying there was a rocket attack. And by the way, like the Israeli army was also saying, if it had been one of their rockets, there would have been a huge crater. But there is not. There is not. There's no structural damage in the hospital. So Hamas have absolutely no proof at all that Israel did this. They just sent out a lie. And we saw in many cities and in many countries that people were out demonstrating, especially in Arab countries, in Muslim countries, who, by the way, hates Israel anyway. So please share out this video for the world to understand the truth of what really happened here last night. Islamic Jihad fired a barrage of rockets. One of them fell short. It hit a parking garage next to a hospital, and they killed their own people. Israel is still preparing a ground operation inside the Gaza Strip to cut the head of the snake once and for all, to eliminate the terror group Hamas. Joe Biden arrived here today to bring a lot of aid, equipment and weapons to Israel that Israel really needs, but it comes with a price. He has his own agenda and his own term for Israel to receive that. I want to say that as much as focus is really on the Gaza Strip, look north. Hezbollah has been moving a large group of troops in Lebanon. That's where the focus is. That's also why Joe Biden is here, because this could spread out to a regional war. If Israel goes into the Gaza Strip and takes out Hamas, and there's going to be a lot, which is war, and you can't avoid civilian casualties. The chance is that 150,000 rockets and missiles are going to come from the north, Israel being exposed or attacked from Hezbollah. There are Iranian soldiers, thousands of Iranian soldiers in Syria who could join the fight if Israel decides, if Iran decides to join the fight. So there is so much going on. You see what's happening on TV, the shake and greet, meet and greet with Biden and Netanyahu, but then they go behind closed door and then something completely different is being said. So Biden is definitely here to tell Israel also to show restraint, to don't attack the Hezbollah in Lebanon. So there's a lot going on for such a time as this. We have never needed your prayers more for the Holy Land that we do right now. This could escalate to a regional war. Israel could be attacked on numerous fronts. Also, if Iran decides through their proxies to really get involved. So please share out this video. Again, I want to summarize: the Israeli army did not attack a hospital in the Gaza Strip. It was a rocket sent from Islamic Jihad. It misfired, it fell down. There was a fire and there was casualties at in a parking space next to a hospital. But that's what they do. They don't care of their own people. They fire from within civilian populations to murder as many civilians in Israel. More than 1,400 people have been murdered. There are still several hundred people who is not accounted for. So the death toll is for sure gonna go up. The Israeli army invited foreign media to go to the base in Tel Aviv, or the IDF base, where they're trying to identify bodies that has been mutilated, bodies that has been decapitated, bodies from people who has been burned alive. That is what mainstream media was presented to, as horrendous as it is, because the world needs to see the massacre, the atrocities, the war crimes, the crimes against civilization that happen here in Israel. And as you can see, with thousands and thousands of people out in the streets all around the world, even including in your country, they're out in the streets and they're screaming for support for Hamas. They're screaming for liberate Palestine, free Palestine, which means the onslaught of the Jewish people. It's coming to your city too. So what happens here in Israel, it always affects the rest of the world. Why? Because God say, if you touch the apple of my eye, if you touch the apple of my eye, you touch Israel. If you touch Israel, you're touching the apple of his eye. It is God's holy land. This is the nation where he put his name down. This is the nation where God put his name down. And now I have the Israeli military flying above my head. So things are very, very tense. Joe Biden is here to tell Israel what the Americans think Israel should do and not do. Also as a deterrent, they're bringing their big warship in here. 2,000 Marines are ready to be deployed if Joe Biden decides to do so. But will he put boots on the ground? Most likely not. So pray for Israel for such a time as this. You can be a watchman on the wall wherever you are living in the world. You mean so much to us. Israel needs all the prayer, the support, the encouragement, the love that she can possibly get for this time, for such a time as this. We stand with Israel. Bye.